Yeah, sir, over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Now, uh, our experience of teaching the finance paper, there is a strong presence of capital budgeting. And when we teach capital budgeting, we teach the investment, we teach the calculation of cash flow and cash flow occurring from T1, time 1 to time 8 or time 10, that is next 10 years, investment taking place today at time 0. And we are accustomed to uh, a technique which is commonly known as the DCF technique, time value of money, and our metrics of learning here is NPV and IRR. This is what is being taught in the finance paper, in the MBA curriculum, anywhere in India and anywhere in the world, right? World means here European world and American business schools. So we are thorough on calculation of NPV and calculation of IRR and the risk adjusted discount rate and certainty equivalent method. We do not discuss accounting rate of return, etc., because that is not the fashion now. Now, this technique is known to us. Now, the second issue here is if we know the corporate finance and we know project investment, then how the project finance differs from capital investment project, and what exactly is the project finance. So let us look at certain numbers. I would prefer numbers to bring the concept. So let us look at this. So this is a company, X company. X company having an equity of first year, year one. Year one, this is the balance sheet of the X company. Year one, 400 is the, these are in crores. 400 is the equities, which is share capital and other reserves. And the borrowing is 700, current liability is 100. So 1200 is the source of financing. And this financing is deployed in the assets, 800 crores in non-current assets, and current assets is 400 crores. Now, this X company thought that they will enter into a bit risky type of business in terms of money, but the revenue are stable. So they thought that we will enter into infrastructure sector financing. So infrastructure sector financing in India, the Reserve Bank and the Ministry of Finance taken together has narrated what will be the infrastructure finance in India and what is the infrastructure sector. Look at the infrastructure sector in India as defined by the Reserve Bank of India and the Ministry of Finance. So transport, energy, water, sanitation, communication, social and commercial infrastructure, right? And this includes affordable housing and the convention center, etc., etc. Now this is a harmonized. You look at here. This is a harmonized master. Sorry. This is a harmonized master list of infrastructure sector notified on 8th October 2013 and on March 2017, Department of Economic Affairs, Infrastructure Section, Ministry of Finance, Government of India, New Delhi. So they have given this is the infrastructure sector, and financing taking place in all these cases will be seen as the infrastructure finance. Accordingly, the banks and financial institution has to have their own policies. So roads and bridges, ports, inland waterways, airport, railway track, tunnel, viaduct, bridges. So these are some priority. And then you have the other transport and energy, electricity generation, transmission, distribution, oil pipeline, and LNG pipeline, gas distribution, etc. So they thought that if we enter into business in that segment, then our return and the revenue will be stable and we'll have a good business growth. Now, when it thought on that line, the consultants has advised that yes, we can help you out and we will give you the support needed, technical advice. So the estimation was done by the company. It would require assets. So in the next year, its balance sheet looks like this: 1,400 crore assets, 600 crore will be additional investment in the fixed assets, and current assets remain same, and that 600 crore investments will be made through the borrowing. So borrowing becomes 700 plus 600, 1,300, and the balance sheet is 1,800. Now you see that when you take this proposal to the banks and the financial institution suggested that, see, on your balance sheet, we really cannot help you out on a debt equity ratio of 1.75 to jumping to 3.25. It is highly leveraged. So we cannot support you. So bank says that we cannot support you because we look at your current business and we see this is an expansion of the business. And in the current business, your debt equity ratio is 1.75 and you are chasing a debt equity ratio of 3.75, and we do not think it is tenable, right? So the consultants was apprehending this. So consultant says that, okay, we have another way out. So what is that way out? The way out is that we create a special purpose vehicle. We create a new company, and if I do the new company, and if we are going for infrastructure project, a road or power project, it will have a estimated life, finite life, it will not be a going concern. Special purpose vehicle means the company is created. Company is a vehicle here. It has been created to meet a special purpose. In this case, this is a special purpose for a power project or a road project. So if I create a special purpose vehicle, I create a new company, and this company, parent company, makes an investment from long-term investment from this and pumps in 200 crores here to start with, and the company goes with this special purpose vehicle with this equity for a borrowing of 600 crores, and the company knows that in India, in case of infrastructure projects, there is a regulation and a permission. Banks can go for equity 1 and debt maximum up to 5 for infrastructure sector project. So a special purpose vehicle or a company is created and the project is financed. The moment the project is financed, this is become a project finance approach. This becomes a project finance approach, and it is not capital budgeting approach, or it is not expansion project. It is not a capital budgeting approach, nor is it an expansion project. It's entirely a new company with a new focus where the project is the key. Project is the key, and everything revolves around the project, right? So how does it work? Generally, in a project finance situation, in a infrastructure sector projects, it is the government which gives the approval. For large projects, these are generally large amount of projects, and these are all virtually state's property and state grants right to do business there. Because suppose there is a road which was narrow but heavily crowded, but which helps people to travel on a regular basis because it shortens the route and it is easy to connect. So government thought that I have to expand that road from single way to double way or double way to quadruple way, 4-lane road up and down. If I have to give people more comfort, then somebody has to invest in that project. If somebody has to invest in that project, then government has to bring private parties for investment. So private sector participation is taking place, and that private sector player is told that I give you the right, and when I give you the right, you organize the money, you organize the project, you deliver the result, let the people use your project or the facility, and then you recover your return on that project. And when you recover that, after the period I have allowed you to do that, you return me the project back. This is the concept. So a let us look at in short how does it work. So there is a one PPT presentation. Let's look at that. One minute. 1 minute. I need a minute. Yeah. Are you able to see a PPT here?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So let us look at. So a special purpose vehicle is created by the parent company. This special purpose vehicle is created on the understanding that the government will give the authority to complete that project through this vehicle or through this company. So there is a concession authority. Now, what is a concession authority? If suppose I am in Gurgaon, there is a road in Gurgaon known as Rajiv Gandhi Expressway, which connects south of Delhi with the Gurgaon. So south of Delhi means somewhere in the research referral hospital near airport, and in Gurgaon it is Rajiv Chowk. So it is government of Haryana and government of Delhi has given the responsibility, had given, not has given, had given the responsibility in 2005 to a company known as JP's to construct this road for 27.42 kilometers. So here is the concession authority. So concession authority is generally the state government or the central government. And the authority which is given, it is known through as a agreement. So this agreement is known as concession agreement. This concession agreement is known differently in different countries. In France, this is known as master agreement. So if the government of France gives the right to Disney to set up a Disney park in Paris. Then they gave a master agreement, which says what the government will do and what the parties are expected to do. We'll touch this slightly later. So a special purpose vehicle is created. Now, this vehicle will handle the project by getting the right from the concession authority. Now, it is a power project I am explaining. So, in a power play, what happens is in Maharashtra, there is a company, there is an organization known as Maharashtra State Electricity Board. It gave a concession to Enron power project, and they entered. The Enron was the special purpose vehicle, created a company here, which developed a offtake agreement. Means that the power which I generate, somebody will buy. So here the offtake agreement was taken place between the Maharashtra State Electricity Board and the power generating company, Enron company. Then to generate power, you require a construction to be done. So a contractor has to develop a power plant, and then you have to have this fuel agreement, supply agreement. So there is a fuel has to be organized. So the SPV has to get fuels from the Coal India, supplier of fuel, and there is a buyer of power. There is a contractor which is building the project, and then comes, once the power plant is constructed, you need people who will maintain the operations and manage the production generation of power. So there is a operator you need, and then comes the project has been created, or the funding has to be coming from something got locked. Give me a minute. So the company was created by the sponsors. They give the equity funding, and later on they may be raising some money from the market. So what is happening here? And then they will go to the lenders for money. So the special purpose vehicle is an entity for a definite period. It is a not going on concern, right? Or you can say ongoing concern. It is not like that. It is for a period. So this entity now entering into agreement of offtake, agreement of getting raw material supply, then it is entering into setting up the power plant, then it is entering into operator who will manage the power plant and generate production. There is an agreement of the SPV with the sponsors, those who have funded the money, and then there's agreement to get the loan, right? And the SPP is at the center of the whole show. Now, you see that whole project here is to generate power and sell power and make money, and SPV will do that. SPV now is dependent on all the concession and all the agreements between all these parties. So it is a contractual linkage among different institutions with this special purpose vehicle. And the most critical role played here is the concession and then the lenders, because lenders give huge money here because they are sure that this is a project whose output is not dependent on the cyclical variation or the cyclical fluctuation of demand and supply. It's a necessity, whether it's a road, whether it's a airport, whether it's a seaport, whether it's a power plant, whether it's a pipeline. These are all necessity. It cannot go very high, it cannot go low. There is always a base minimum. Revenue will be always there. So we take an example here of a famous project finance approach, that Noida toll bridge. Look at how the financing has been made in Noida toll bridge. So this was the original one when it was created. So there was ILFS, IFCI, they gave the money. Yellows are loan, and red and pink are the equity came. Now, if you add up the equities, you will find that this equity is 500 plus 15, so 2000, round it up. Then you take 1000, 3000 plus 2857, 5857. Compared to that, you see the equity portion is much lesser, right? So in a project finance, what happens? The lenders give money. Lenders give money. And why lenders give huge money? And what is the risk lenders take? And the question is why they take. So, 4 questions. In this type of project, lenders give huge money. Second related question is why lenders give that money. Third question is why the project takes from lenders, and why the project repays to the lenders. So in our capital investment problems, when we teach the capital budgeting or project expansion, our focus is the balance sheet financing. In project finance, focus is in the project, not on the balance sheet of the sponsor. So what happens here? Look at that Word document. You see that if the special purpose vehicle doesn't do well, the lenders in this case, lenders in this new company, lenders cannot go. Lenders can not go to sponsors. What does it mean? It means that whenever you go for a expansion project, you look at the lenders, the promoters or the sponsors balance sheet, and what you have here is a recourse. In project finance, you have no recourse. So where you have recourse then? Your recourse is the project. Your recourse is the project. Your recourse is the project. You cannot go back to the sponsor. You have to be looking at the project and its cash flow. So you have to look at only at project's cash flow. Right? You cannot go to sponsors or parents balance sheet or recourse. So I want to stop here. because this is a conceptual issue. We have to understand. So if there is some comments come, I can explain, then you go to the next page.
So participants, till this point, if you have any query, please ask Professor Chakrabarti.
This is very important here to understand. If this part is clarified, then rest of the things are very smooth. Yes, Professor Maheshwari.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, in the diagram that you have shown, there were sponsors in the project finance.
Yeah.
And now at the end of this, whatever you said there are no sponsors at all. Project finance
No.
I got confused.
No. Sponsor is still there.
Sponsors are for the equity.
Sponsors. Look at the diagram again. Look at the diagram again. That's why I put the question here, because this is a concept very difficult to conceptualize, and once you conceptualize, things will be fantastic. Look at this Word document here. I'm shortening it. Okay. You see, the sponsors had this money. Of this, sponsor has pumped in 200 here, and the project is a different entity altogether, right? Now,
Yes.
the lenders have given 600 crore here. The lenders, if the project goes wrong, lender cannot come to the sponsor to get the money. What you have to get is what you have created. If you have created power plant, if you have created road, if you have created airport, if you have created seaport, then you have to recover money from that project's operation or by selling that project. You cannot come here.
So you mean only the special purpose vehicle is liable to pay them, not
Only
the main
special
company.
purpose vehicle is liable for all the loan, not the parent.
Not the main parent company.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
no
I
way.
got.
This is what is known as recourse. So there is a question came, recourse. So put it, recourse in a very simple term. When the children go to study in the college, university, and hostel fees given by the parent, the students, for any responsibility of the students default, the institution will go to the parents for recourse, right? Suppose institution is not allowed to go to parents to recourse, then they will not have any recourse. They have to only get the money from the students, and they have to wait for the students for placement and the salary which they get after placement. You cannot go to parent. It is something like that. In a corporate financing, when bank gives loan to the entity, but very often property of the promoter is also hypothecated to the bank. So what banks do is bank attach those property from the when there is a default. In project finance, you have to have only recourse to the project. Thereby question will come to your mind that what is the security of the lender here? See, the lender has only recourse to the projects. Thereby lenders, every step, lenders look into this project, its evaluation, its cash flow distribution, and its distribution of dividend. Right? So this is what is the concept of the project finance. How? Yeah. Yes.
Sir, I have a question.
Madam Dina Prasad.
Sir, I have a question. So only the projects in infrastructure structure can get the project finance?
Mostly. Which you mentioned in that list. You have a road,
Yes.
you have a energy, you have a communication, you we have a water resources, and other solid waste management.
Thank you, sir.
So now you see that. So one, yeah, Professor Maheshwari, any other question? Should I close this question, Professor Maheshwari? Because it says Professor
One
Maheshwari.
second. Like I didn't unmute it. I'm sorry, sir.
Oh,
Can you
no.
hear me, sir? Am I audible?
Yes, yes, I am able to hear you.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't unmute. I mean, unmute it, sir.
Acha,
Sir,
yes.
maybe I'm putting a question out of box right now, but still it strikes my mind, so I thought of asking it. How about
Please
this
give.
metro rail project, sir, which has been taken by L&T? Will it come under this special
Project finance, yes.
project
Yeah,
financing?
yeah,
Sir?
yeah. Larsen
And
Toubro special project. Because Larsen Toubro will be responsible to execute the project and hand it over, and this is the construction part to Larsen Toubro, right?
yes, sir.
It will be run by Metro Rail Corporation.
Yes, sir.
The construction part will be given to them, right?
Yes. So they are the contractors there, rather.
Contractors, construction contractors.
That's right.
Yes, Doctor, I missed the question. Dr. Ko, there is another question given by Dr.
Yeah, Kokila Priya. I think
Yeah, yeah.
for network issues, she has missed it.
Okay,
She
so
has left the meeting. It is showing. So she might join and reconnect and ask the question.
okay. So now you see that three peculiar words we have heard. We have heard about concession agreement. We have heard about recourse financing and non-recourse financing. And we have heard about concession authority. And we have already heard special purpose vehicle. These were nowhere into our finance teaching part of capital budgeting, right? Now, we go to the next stage. So we look at some conceptual part in terms of descriptive thing. So if we have to give a definition type, so what is typically the basic features of project finance? It's an agreement by financially responsible parties to complete the project, and toward that end to make available to the project all funds necessary to achieve completion. So the project will be completed, that much of assurance will be done by the lenders primarily, and the sponsors will make the company creation. Second is project completion. When it occurs and operations commence, the project will have available sufficient cash to enable to meet all operating expenses and debt service requirements. So when we say debt service requirements, we have two things here. One is we have to pay interest, and we have to pay principal, or we can say installments of principal as agreed upon, right? So this is what is to be debt service. And even if the project fails to perform on account of force majeure or for any other reason, so the project may be closed down. This is another new word we have come across, is force majeure. Force majeure means it is possible that the project could not get completed. See, when the concession agreement is signed by the concession granting authority, they also mention what is the force majeure clause. Those force majeure clauses can be political, can be non-political. Political can be the people's agitation against a project, and project is not allowed to get completed. So thereby the project granting authority and the lenders all sit together and work out. If it is a non-political, then what was the liquidated damage agreed before the damage took place? Liquidated damage means that if you are, what is the meaning of liquidated damage? Liquidated damage means the penalty for not completing the work. So in addition to that, there may be step-in rights. That is, those who have given the concession through the concession agreement to the executors of the project, including the SPV, so they may be changed. A new promoter can be brought, and the old SPV people can be told to go. So there is the regulator has the right to step into the project. Force measure is, we can say, things beyond our control. We said political, non-political. Political and non-political. Okay. Now, very soon, many of you will be teaching this subject because let me submit why I am saying this particular thing. Very soon, many of you will be teaching this paper. The reasons are very simple. Government of India has made it virtually compulsory in most of the IIMs to teach project finance. Why it is so? Because there is a huge thirst in this country to put infrastructure into a global standard. So our roads should be good, our airports should be good, our railway tracks should be good, our power plant should be expanded, pipeline should be good. Now the question arises, how do we evaluate all these projects? We need a lot of understanding and evaluation criteria and assessment criteria, and then monitoring the project implementation. So management schools have been told to put this subject, and there is a course of these subjects are being taught. I myself teach in IIM Jammu, and earlier I used to teach in IIM Ranchi, the same subject. So it is taught in the 5th term. So this year also I have taught, but this online. So the point here is that if this is so complicated, why it is coming here? The reasons are very interesting. So I again go back to the note. You have heard a word known as public-private partnership. You have heard a word known as public-private partnership. So in the public-private partnership, increasingly governments are finding difficult to fulfill their obligation to increase the facilities and the the infrastructure system in most of the countries. So governments are inviting the private parties to come and help government by providing their you can say the expertise and providing their uh, competencies and financial muscle to help the government meet the obligations and expectations of the people for a good infrastructure. So government has developed a mechanism in most of the country that they are inviting private parties to join into creation of infrastructure project and running them. So thereby, the private parties are coming with their finance as well as with their, you can say, the expertise to contribute into the government's effort. So, what is happening here is that one is government shortage of money, and when the government doesn't have the enough money to support, government doesn't have enough money to support, and private parties have enough money to support, so they are coming to the government with their kitty, and government is saying, okay, I will give you this facility to operate here and to build this, and you will recover your return, you will recover your return and after that you will give me this project back. So the private sector is contributing in a big way, and their return has to be given to them because they will bring the money. So this was the primary reason for the private sector to join into rescuing the governments in many countries uh, by providing finance and expertise. In India also, if you go to Ministry of Finance site, you will find that, let me try. Yeah. Are you able to see this?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes,
this
sir.
is
Yes.
Asian Development Bank, and you see that mainstreaming public-private partnership in India, right? So Asian Development Bank is also working in this country, and they are talking about the how to strengthen this. So you can see that the Indian economy has been delivering strong. So what is the partnership here? Look at the partnership here. capacity building of officials, process standardization, sector tools, development funds, and project development. So mainstreaming of public-private partnership at state level, mainstreaming of public-private partnership at central line ministries, supporting initiatives of mainstreaming public-private partnership, urban amenities, pilot projects, and then framework for developing mainstreaming public-private partnership. So this is what is in the public-private partnership. Foreign institutions are also working in this country in this direction, right? So coming back here, now we'll talk about what is the risk in this type of project. Why infrastructure sector finance has caught the, you can say, fancy of the world. If you are, if I hope many of you also the member of the Harvard Business School Educators Library. Are you there? Some of you are member there?
Yes, sir.
So if you go there, then on this subject, you will see the most authoritative writing is Professor Benjamin C. Esty. So in the public-private partnership, over a period of time, has brought the private sector in a big way. When the private sector is brought in a big way, then private sector's return has also to be assured. If we do not assure the private sector return, then why private sector will come? So I will take a small example here to share with you how a power project is actually evaluated under the project finance route and how the private sector's return is assured and how this project evaluation takes place. This is slightly different from the capital budgeting process, but closely relating to that also, though it is different. Okay, so I will show you a spreadsheet calculation here. You don't have to calculate. Please see what is being I'm trying to do. So it is you do not concentrate on the whole screen. Look at the portion I am trying to shade so that we understand it better. And this is how the issues of power in this country needs to be solved, but it is not seen on that line. Okay. Now you see, hope the screen is being seen. There is a 510 megawatt power plant 2. So total megawatt capacity is 1020 megawatt, right? This is what is the power plant's technical capacity. A power project, generation project, is evaluated for a period of 20 years for financing. So you can see that year 1, 2, we go up to year 20, right? Now, you see that when we consume electricity in the home, our bills are shown in units. Am I right? Our electricity bills are shown in units.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
The family consumes 400 units, 300 units, 500 units, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, we need to understand how the megawatt get converted to unit. Why I am saying this, I teach, the institute where I work, majority students are all engineers. Here and Chennai also. I teach in both the campus, Chennai and Gurgaon. Now, many of these engineers know engineering very well, but when it comes to finance, there is an issue which creates a problem for the individual. So 1 megawatt, when we say, what we mean is that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 watts, right? When you say 1 megawatt means this many watt. Now you know that when we run a 100-watt bulb for 10 hours, we consume 1000 watt. So what we can say is that, and this 1000 watt is known as 1 unit of power, right? So 1 megawatt give you, 1 megawatt will give you 1000 units of power. 1000 are 1 million. If you run this 1 megawatt power for 24 hours, then you are generating in a day this much of units of power in a day. So unit. So you have come out from megawatt to unit. If you run it for 365 days, so in a year you generate this many unit. Now if you divide this many unit by a million, then you generate 8.76 million unit in a year, MU, right? So if you are generating, or if you are establishing a 1020 megawatt, then multiply this number by this number. It is possible for you to generate this much of million unit in a year by setting up 1020 megawatt of power plant. Okay. So 8935.2. So my theoretically I can annually generate this much. Now in India there is something known as plant load factor, which is similar to capacity utilization. Average plant load factor in this country is 68.5, all power generating plant taken together, right? Whereas some state electricity boards which has a power plant, they do not run well. Some central power plants are doing well. So average works out to be this. So if this is the theoretical possible capacity, and of which 68% is being generated, you generate 6121 million. And then while you generate power, you consume power. That is also known as auxiliary consumption. So if that is 10%, which is the standard in India, you have this much power available for sale. So a generating company will be able to sell this many units of power during the year. Now, in India, power tariff means how do you charge to consumer the billing for power. It is got two parts. One part is fixed charges created, means that when a power plant is generated, you cannot leave it at the mercy of the demand and supply. There has to be a captive consumer. So power plants are set up keeping in view the commitment made by the states, how much they will take from this plant. Accordingly, power plant is being set up, private or public. So distribution companies play an important role. So when a company set up a power plant, it incurs cost of plant and machinery, which has a life for 20 years, 25 years. So money is borrowed and interest has to be paid and the loan has to be repaid, number one. Then second is the plant will worn out, so there is a depreciation has to be charged. Third is there is a cost for operation and maintenance, that is also to be charged. Fourth, the person who has pumped in equity, the promoter of the company, he has also to get a digital humming. What do I do with this? So these are the charges, fixed cost, which has to be borne by the power plant. And over and above, there is a variable cost of thermal power, coal consumption, or if you say solar, etc., there is no very variable cost. Solar or wind, there is no variable cost, but thermal power, you have a coal cost. So it is known as two-part tariff. So let us look at how they do it. So in this, you see that the capacity charge is interest on borrowing, interest on working capital, depreciation, operation and maintenance charges, return on equity. This is all charged for over a longer period of time. But then as you start repaying the loan, then what happens? Suppose you are given this period, you are repaying in the first year, you are not paying anything. Second year, you are not paying anything. Third year onwards, you are paying. So the period for which you are not paying, this is known as moratorium period. Moratorium period means you are relaxed for this period. You don't have to pay the installment for these 2 years. You only pay the interest, and after that, when your cash flow improves, you pay the interest. So thereby what happens, as you start paying the interest from the third year, your interest rate, interest absolute amount, first 2 years remains high, then it starts falling. And if you repay within 10 years, then after 10 years, you don't have any interest to pay. Similar is the case, depreciation is recovered fast from the asset of the company. In a sense that if you recover depreciation at a higher rate, then the promoter get a higher cash flow. So faster depreciation you recover, then by 12 year you recover all the depreciation, and then 13, 14, 15 year, after 20-year life, you don't recover in depreciation. The effect of this happens this way, that in your total cost, term loan is paid by 12th year, after that no payment is made. Depreciation has been paid by 12th year, so after that no payment is made. So what happens that you find that your total cost is fixed cost over a period of time starts falling, right? So if you put a graph here, you will find that depreciation, etc., has been paid, principal has been paid, so your fixed cost starts falling, right? And variable cost will remain same. It will go up initially, but then as it stabilizes from third year onwards, variable cost remains same for the next 20 years. Now what happens here? You look at the variable cost graph, it remains lower capacity utilization, higher capacity utilization, and then stabilizes. So it gives us a very interesting dimension here, that when we look at the total cost per unit total cost, you find that your variable cost more or less remains same, but fixed cost per unit goes down, and your power pricing becomes a problem here. You see that this is your fixed cost which is falling. This is the total cost which is falling. This is the fixed cost which is falling on 10th, 12th year. You can see here. And your variable cost remains same. Now the question arises, how do you say how much I will charge to my customers? You cannot say my cost is this, so you give me this. So in power evaluation, we do something known as levelized tariff. Levelized tariff means the existing tariff, I convert them, I discount them with a discount rate. And when a discount rate we apply, we get the discounted tariff, which is different from the actual tariff. This is my actual tariff. This is first year I will not discount, but second year onwards, I start discounting. It has come down. I start discounting. It has come down. I start discounting. It has come down. So this is how my discounted tariff is summed up and my discount rate is summed up. So when I divide discounted tariff by the sum of the discount rate, I get something known as levelized tariff. Right? Now, this is how infrastructure projects are financed and money is recovered. Because in infrastructure project, before charging the customer, you have to build in the profit, how much you will charge to the customer. You can say it is very similar to return on investment pricing. You have to have built the return on investment into your cost structure, and you have to recover from the customer. So all infrastructure projects, whether it's a port, whether it's an airport, whether it's a pipeline, whether it's a road, you have to follow this method. That is, your recovery method has to be followed. Any questions at this stage? Any questions at this stage?
So I don't think the participants have anything at this point.
No, there can be two possibilities. One is I could not explain properly. This is one possibility.
No, sir.
No, it's not that, sir. It was ample. It was rather crystal clear. Every point you have made was very much understandable as well as simple. Simplicity was the hallmark over there. So,
Yeah.
absolutely.
No. What I'm trying to say is that in an infrastructure, I'm trying to show you something. Yeah. Give me a minute. Okay.
Sir, can I ask you one question here?
Yes, sir.
Sir, is there anything, any restriction on the type of depreciation that you do for a power project?
Okay. Here, the government has a circular when you charge tariff, depreciation. In a wind and solar power, government has permitted accelerated depreciation.
Sir.
So in 2 to 3 years time, you recover the full depreciation. You know why? The reason is The moment you charge depreciation to your profit and loss account, the profit comes down, right? Profit comes down. Government is not worried about profit coming down. Government is concerned that you have set up a power plant which is giving power either to the grid or to the other part of the country. Number one. Number two, in wind or solar, when you are investing, government is permitting accelerated depreciation so that you make money. But government's main purpose is Paris Convention. We have already committed there that we will not promote thermal, and we have a zero emission type of things we'll do in power sector. So it is basically promoting and giving incentive to the promoter to set up wind and solar power. So the circular is given on this. To get the circular, you have to go to CERC, renewable sector tariff calculation.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
You will get CERC, renewable sector. Okay. I have spent, you can say, around 3 decades on this subject, on the power. I was in the Ministry of Power task force for 6 years, did study in the electricity boards on behalf of the government of India. I somehow see what is government is not doing. So I, sometime back, it is an old article, sometime back I wrote an article in Economic Times that offended some people in the government, but that was a fact. So take a look at that article for a while. I'm sharing. Are you able to see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So issue here was we have a huge loss in this sector and it needs to be managed. It is still not managed properly. See, giving power is not enough. Giving power and at a proper rate and saving the economy is very important. So one line caused irritation in the minds of the bureaucrats, which is true, but they don't want to accept. I wrote this line that power distribution system in India is a leaky bucket. And nobody liked this statement. So they asked me that, why do you have written this? I was in the advisor of the Ministry Power Finance Corporation. So obviously under the government control. They said, no, this is not correct. We are trying our best. You are all professor, you don't understand these things. Now I could not explain that I have taught in 16 electricity boards over 20 years. So I have some idea on this subject. So, but that's the issue. See that we have what is the government's duty. So I have also said that power sector to improve, we need to educate and train these people in a big way, right? So teaching, training is very important, and educating these executives is very important. So this is the write-up on power. And I still feel power is very costly in India. The electricity bill is still very costly in India. Okay. Coming back to our story. So in project finance, there are a few models. We need to look at, and those models are very important. But before that, just take a look the main difference between the corporate finance and project finance. In case of project finance, project assets are actually guaranteeing, but in corporation finance, assets of the borrower, right? In accounting treatment, in corporate finance, everything is on balance sheet. In project finance, it is off balance sheet. And if you say degree of leverage utilizable, effects on the borrower's balance sheet, but depends on the cash flows generated, right? So there are a few models which are very important in the project finance, and those models will just touch upon some ideas we have heard about this. So let us look at. See, these are the words very commonly heard, we generally hear. So various acronyms are being used. One is known as BOT, build, operate, and transfer. So when you are bringing private entrepreneur, the private entrepreneur will invest money and they will recover their money during the pendency of the concession agreement, and they should hand over the project to the concession granting authority, generally the government, right? So this model is known as build, operate, and transfer. So this model, what is the slightly bigger? In a BOT framework, the public administration delegates planning and realization of the project to the private party, together with operating management of the facility for a given period of time. During this period, the private party is entitled to retain all receipts generated by the operation, but is not the owner of the structure concerned. The facility will then be transferred to the public administration at the end of the concession agreement without any payment being due to the private party involved. Then there is another framework known as BOOT, build, own, operate, transfer. So a BOOT framework differs from BOT framework in that the private party owns the works. At the end of the concession term, the works are transferred to the public administration, and in this case, a payment for them can be established because they have invested, they have owned, so some payment is being worked out. And the last one is the BOO framework. BOO framework talks about build, operate, and own. So here, private sector has a role to own up. So lastly, the build, operate, and own framework has characteristics in common with the other two. Private party owns the works, but ownership is not transferred at the end of the agreement. Therefore, the residual value of the project is exploited entirely by private sector. So these models, there are many models are coming up. Now, those will be more interested, I would like to suggest to them. Are you able to see a document shown in the screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So, if you are already teaching the subject, fantastic. If you are not teaching the subject, then make an investment on the subject by reading this book, freely available in the internet. It is a book of case studies in India, written by the officials of the Ministry of Finance and the World Bank. And you will find that these case studies will show us that how the project has worked. So you will find the project, it is all across the country. Hyderabad Metro, Gangavaram project of Andhra Pradesh. You have the Kakinada Deep Water project. You have Alandur Sewerage project, Latur water supply, Salt Lake water supply. And if you look at the case studies, these are very beautifully done, and a lot of learning we have in these case studies, and it will strengthen our intellectual power. That's one of the reason I thought that I must share these texts and inform you so that you can pursue with this. The subject is going to be very, very demanding in the coming days. So let us look at a known project, something like that. 1 minute. Huh. This is what? Latur. No, not the Latur. We want to go to Navashiva Port Trust. That's number case. So, so this is a Kakinada deep water project, right? And then they developed, there is a PPT structure, and there are a few American, Singapore company, Australian company, all they participated in that project, and the project worked, and then project has given a very good output. Here is a different model has been used. You can look at that model. This is OMST, operate, maintain, share and transfer, or build, operate, maintain, share, transfer with Kakinada Seaports Limited, right? And then PPP structure, public-private partnership. Then it talks about current status, financing information, then process value analysis, and then financial evaluation of the project. And then they are talking exit, how to exit from the project, what are the risk allocation framework, and this is what is the okay. If you have phone ready in your hand, you can take a photo of this and download from the Ministry of Finance this document. This will strengthen your power to do writing and research better. Hope it was okay. A new idea on the project finance, and the best researcher on the subject in the world today is Benjamin St. There's a textbook by Stefano Gatti. There is a book by Finati, and it is not project evaluation, it's a project finance. So if you look at the books, that opens up a huge understanding on this subject. With this, many thanks for patiently hearing post-lunch classes.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank
It
you
was
so much,
indeed
sir.
an eye-opener for many of us, because usually this is not a very common subject for
Yeah.
many of us.
It's not a very common subject, but
Yeah.
try investing in this subject, and
Okay.
it has a huge opportunity because you study risk management in a big way, and with the cases. It is not the formulas like you do in other areas. It is case by case risk analysis. How does it happen?
Okay.
So that's a very important area, I feel. And given the spreadsheet and the Python and R, now the calculations are also too fine to define.
Okay.
Good. Thank you for the opportunity, Dr.
Thank you.
Mukhopadhyay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. It was our pleasure to listen from you. Thank you, sir. Take care of your health. And that is very important. Yeah. Thank you, sir. I will talk to you later on.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, Dr. Rupani, thank you.
Yes, sir. There are many
I
positive.
got the comments. Yeah. Ritesh Kumar ji, any question?
Sir, one thing I want to ask that can you please share the documents that you explained today, that merger and acquisition part and the project finance that you.
Oh, the notes.
Yes, sir, the
I will
resources.
send it to Dr. Mukhopadhyay.
Okay, sir.
Okay, sir. I
Thank you.
will
And he
forward
will have a
it.
connection. He can forward it.
Okay,
Sure,
sir.
I have all the email IDs. I will forward it to the
And
participants.
also, I will send this document, the Ministry of Finance and World Bank.
Sure, sir. Sure,
That
sir.
will also be sent so that you can read it.
Mhm.
You may not teach now, maybe 2-3 years. I have spent time in 12 year back. 12 year back.
Okay.
I built up the subject and started teaching. So that's the thing.
Okay.
It's a,
Fantastic.
academics is a long-term game. Academics
Exactly.
is a long-term game.
Exactly.
You invest today, you may start getting results after 10 years.
Exactly. Sir, just in line with you, I heard Professor TP Ghosh of IMT Dubai.
Yeah, yeah.
In one of the conference, he said once that at least you need to spend 10,000 hours with somebody to get the love back from that book or that subject.
Yes. See,
So
you
I
have
believe
to
very strongly.
see investment will always come back and knock at your door if you make
In the long
investment
run.
today.
In the long run.
Yes, it will do.
Exactly.
In 1985, I met a man in Kolkata.
Mhm.
85.
Hmm.
He was chairman State Electricity Board of West Bengal.
Okay.
And I said that electricity is not managed properly.
Hmm.
So he said, you come to my office, I want to talk to you.
Hmm.
So he said, can you do training program for my executives? That is my exposure to electricity.
Okay.
And then I studied and taught 16, 17 electricity boards in this country.
Okay. And sir, what is your
Over-
experience with regard to that? Were they adequately exposed to the knowledge which is required?
See, the problem is everybody is in the operational numbers. How many lines have been connected? How many customers have been given? How many this? Nobody talks about investment. Nobody talks about return. Nobody talks about profit. So finally, you will not have money to really expand, grow, build your people. So that took me to DVC, that took me to NTPC, Power Grid, Power Finance Corporation, Maharashtra Electricity Board, Madhya Pradesh Electricity Board, Tamil Nadu Electricity Board, Andhra Pradesh Electricity Board. That helped.
Okay.
So it's your investment, and the academic shows if you invest there. See, I am not an economist, but I write on economics. That writing took me to US to teaching as a visiting faculty macroeconomics. So I had to study US macroeconomics thoroughly. Still today, I study US budget because you do not know when the opportunity comes.
Exactly, sir.
So you have to be updated on the subject.
Yeah. Sir, these are wonderful lessons for us as faculty
Academics is a
members.
long-term game.
Yeah.
And always remember, you are working much more than ordinary executives. You are always working. You are studying some letters, digesting them, converting them for a listening to the students. Students listen to you. They come to you. So you are the fountain. So people will get ideas from you, and that's your achievement. And
Exactly.
nobody really compete with a professor on a subject. It's very, very important. That very difficult to fight with the professor on a subject. See, procedure people may be knowing. Some procedures, the executives knowing more. But knowledge, nobody can beat professors.
The
At least
first principles of any concept. Exactly.
Nobody can do it. That's my belief over a period of time. I have taught in, you can say, taught and lectured around 21 countries in the world.
Wow.
Taught as a visiting faculty in UK and in US. In India, most of the IIMs. That's the learning I have got. So I think that it is important for us to keep on investing on a subject. Some subjects you may not like, but know something of that. Some subjects you like, invest on that. It will give you return.
And we need to keep on picking up subjects. As you said that in 85 you picked up this area. So
No, because what happens, you yourself will be bored by teaching finance and
exactly,
accounting over a period of time. So
exactly.
you have to teach mergers, you have to teach acquisitions, you have to teach project finance, you have to teach investment banking, you have to teach financial modeling,
Mhm.
you have to teach derivatives. So
Exactly.
if you go on doing it, then finally you reach to a stage where your power becomes much more. People look at you, and
Mhm.
that's what you enjoy in life.
Mhm.
That people
Exactly.
look at you. See, people. I have the privilege to teach in many countries. I have the privilege to teach in many institutions. In the process, I have learned more,
Mhm. Exactly.
and in the process, I have started speaking simple terms, not in a complicated jargons. Right.
Exactly.
So, thank you very much. Thanks to all of you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. We will be in touch with you. Thank you for your valuable lecture and insights, sir.
Right. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much,
sir.
sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you,
so
sir.
much, sir.
Sir, this looking up to is happening, sir. This is, you invested so much time for us, sir. We are really, we have
No,
become
no,
your
that's fine.
fans.
It's an opportunity for me to
Exactly.
talk to so many young people. These are young minds.
And
They can do
across the
much more
country,
work than I do.
sir. We have
Yeah.
participants from across the country.
If
And
I
sir,
get the list of things, I can connect with the people and they can give me some input to sharpen my ability further in some
I will,
areas where I am not knowing.
exactly,
I may not be knowing everything, no? But I can learn from the students. As I
exactly.
talk to you, that
Hmm,
process of acquisition is I give an importance,
hmm,
and you do the valuation and share exchange ratio, fine.
hmm, hmm, hmm,
So in the process, I know that he is the expert on valuation.
hmm.
So maybe some research can happen.
Exactly, exactly, sir.
Research is always joint is better.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Joint is
Exactly,
better. In the
exactly.
last 6 months, there are 2 publications has come.
Sir, yesterday, Professor Chanchal Chatterjee, you know him very well.
Yeah, yeah.
So he took 2 sessions. So he also advised us on the same line to the participants. He also shared a research which he is doing on earnings management.
He's a brilliant, very good,
Yeah, he is a very good guy.
very good.
Yeah.
Our last paper is with him only.
Mhm. Sir, so
So thank
next time
you.
if we plan, we will definitely love to have you on board. We
I
will
will
see it.
be happy. I will be happy because these days you can do on online. Absolutely no
Exactly.
problem.
That, yeah, yeah, that is very
Okay,
useful.
thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, dear participants, so we are through with the 4th day, 80%